gonna do, I don't know if how many of you knew Jim, right? Jim was one of my I consider Jim to be one of my best friends. He helped me through some of the darkest times of my life as a personal friend. He was my business partner in a lot of things, and so there was a big impact on my life. I wanted to demonstrate and just show the spectrum of people that Jim knew. Jim knew everybody. Jim touched everybody that he ever was in contact with in a positive way. And so I'm going to try to make it through these letters. I've read them several times, so I could do okay today. And this first one, it says, I got into hypnosis relatively later in life than most. And the one thing that has always impressed me is the people. We are a small group of professionals spread all over the world. Maybe that's why we can bond so easily with each other. People we may only see 4 or 5 times a year in person, and yet you know you have to call them with a good joke, or if you have a particular problem or a client that you need help with. Or maybe just to chat and hear their voice again. This was Jim for me, and I suspect for many of you. Jim and I met at Heartland Hypnosis Conference in St. Louis. My love for rapid inductions and Jim's love of street hypnosis created an instant mutual respect. We could compare and contrast these two techniques easily and grow. I was asked by some mutual hypnotist friends to present for the first time at HypnoThoughts Live a few years ago. Jim promoted my presentation to everyone and filled my room. That was the respect everyone had for Jim, and I would be forever in his debt. But it was our private conversations that I valued the most, the ones about family, dreams, and friends. But now my friend is gone. No more phone calls, no more advice, no more jokes, and no more funny stories. The sun will rise again tomorrow in the morning, this we know for sure. Someone will do Jim's shows. Someone will see Jim's clients, and this we also know for sure. No one will replace Jim in the humanities, in his generosity with his time and his talents. But as long as the good Lord lets me keep my memory, Jim, you will never be forgotten. Sent with love in my heart, Terry Bloom. Remembering Jim Kellner, an inspiring hypnotist and friend. Jim was more than a colleague to me. He was an inspiring entrepreneur, a passionate speaker, a dedicated organizer, a skilled hypnotherapist, and an amazing performer. He had a way of lighting up any room and leaving a lasting impression on anyone he met. I got to know Jim mostly at conventions, where we were often both speakers. One of my favorite memories is being part of the very first convention Jim and Anthony organized in Tacoma. It was such an honor to see his passion and dedication in action. Jim's loss is, first and foremost, a huge loss for his family and his close friends. But it is also a loss for all of the people who could have experienced his incredible hypnosis shows, the clients who would have been helped by his hypnotherapy, and for our worldwide hypno family who will miss him deeply. Jim, we'll never forget you. Thank you for everything you brought to this world. Rest in peace, my friend. Rock the groove. And this last one, to all of Jim's friends, while it is incredibly hard to say goodbye to Jim, it is something we must do. Jim was so many things to so many people: friend, fitness model, influencer, mentor, and more. Most importantly, he was the connection that brought us together. It's safe to say that without Jim, many of us would not have crossed paths, let alone created the friendships we now hold dear. If you've known Jim for any length of time, you have undoubtedly heard his unforgettable laugh. That laugh will stay with me forever. And of course, his humor, sharp, quick, and always good-natured. You never knew when you might become the target of one of his jokes, but it was impossible not to laugh along. Some of our best moments were spent trading jokes, especially about Canada and the US. I lost count of how many times I apologized on behalf of Canada for inventing that fruity pizza and how often he called me a nerd. What I'll miss most about him, though, was his genuine desire to see everyone succeed. He wasn't just cheering us on from the sidelines, he was in the trenches, working to help us achieve our goals. Jim and I spoke about his vision to positively impact 1 billion people through hypnosis. I joked that he'd either need to get a lot more famous or enlist an army of hypnotherapists to do so. Without missing a beat, he chose the second option. That was Jim in a nutshell, always ready to lend a hand and ensure that success was something we could all share. Jim's legacy is simple. Get out there. People need what we have to offer, and you're the one who can help them. And don't eat pineapple pizza. And that's from Sean Kotowski. So
I'm going to play the rest of the video. That's
it was
a
over.
picture, but no, there's just a little bit left, and you worked so hard on it. Oh, there we go. Okay, then now it's over.
So, if anybody would like to stand up and say a few words about Jim, you're welcome to do so. You know, thank you for letting me do this because I wanted to honor Jim in the best way that I knew how. And Anna, please.
After I learned that Jim is gone, I started thinking, wow, it's so sudden, and what is left? What is left? What is that after a person is gone? And his smile was so real. He would go towards you, say, and when he encouraged me, it felt so from the heart that he wanted me to succeed. He wanted me. And there was no competition, no ego. He wanted me to do well. And I'm going to miss this. I'm going to miss this. Hey, you did this speech. Congratulations. It was awesome. Or yes, you are a speaker at this conference. Yes. I will miss it. So I have now a goal. I want to be to other people what Jim became to me.
Fantastic. Thank you, Anna. Thank you. Danny.
So you may have seen a picture of the NGHWA Christmas dinner, and I was 1 hour late. I won't explain why, but I sat right next to Jim, and he said, "Hi, Danny, so good to see you," with just such sincerity. Of course, I was like, blah, 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 I kept moving my blah. But there was no judgment. He was just happy to see me. And then our Washington chapter goes out to lunch after our chapter meetings on the second Saturday. And I am always too busy. I have too much going on. But my goal is to connect, to honor Jim and make time in my schedule because I love Jim and I love his family. I'm here for you. And I love all of you so sincerely that I'm going to continue to connect. And every time I do, I'll see Jim's big smile. And I know he's here today. He's here today with us.
Is Brian here?
Yeah. He'll talk.
You coming up?
I'll wrap up right before Jim.
Okay. The first time I met Brian, he came to my home and he needed some hypnotherapy help. And he was distressed, and we tried to engage him and help him settle down. And next, here's this big guy that is very upset and frustrated with his life. And next thing I know, Jim has him out doing street hypnosis. He just took him under wing and helped him to come into a different world.
Oh, we'll definitely cover that part for sure.
Excuse me?
There's a story coming.
All right, awesome. But that was the first time I met Brian. And it was the first time I'd seen Jim when we were all wondering how we're going to help Brian. There was no question in Jim's mind. He was just there to help. And each time that we had our meetings, he would honor whoever was doing the talk. And it came from his heart. He was so proud of us. He was so happy that he was part of this crowd. And then he said, we've got to move NGHY forward. So I want to be president so I can push you guys into doing more and getting more PR out there and make our membership larger and really pushing us to do more. That was Jim. And then he said, okay, I got too much on my plate. I need to take a break. And you guys have done your work. Let's keep on going. Let's build the membership. And he really pushed us. And thank goodness Jody came in to take over when things got too busy for Jim, especially planning these wonderful hypnosis conferences with our friend over here. He just excelled in kindness. That word is in capital letters, kindness. And he is surely loved and appreciated and loved his daughter and his wife. And he had a passion for the beauty of what comes from hypnosis. Now, I don't know anything about Jim's past, but there's something there that gave him a purpose. Don't know what it is, but that man had a purpose, and he spread it through all of us. Grace, love, and kindness, and compassion, and respect for one another. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, hold my beer. All right, well, this seemed like a good idea at the time. So having been to a variety of memorial services and things like that in my time in the military, as a Freemason and also as a Shriner, and as I get older, we seem to be doing these things more and more frequently. Everybody has their own unique way of coping with a loss. While I shy away from alcohol and any type of other substance, I choose inappropriate and dark veteran humor. So if you guys will indulge me, I'm going to try to laugh. So what I'm about to read to you guys is kind of my rendition of the notification of Jim's passing, as if it was written by Jim, and he had to post this. It says, hey everyone, well this is awkward. If you're reading this, it means I've officially gone and kicked the bucket. Yes, I passed away the morning of December 26th, 2024. Unexpectedly, but from natural causes. I know, I was just as surprised as you all, trust me. And we covered some of the stuff yeah, he goes, what a way to kick off 2025, but with a Jim Kellner cremation, huh? I mean, I literally kicked off at the end of 2024, and in parentheses, see what I did there? Speaking of cremation, this is not what I had in mind when I said that I wanted to be the subject of a celebrity roast. Note to self, I'm going to fire my virtual assistant. says, wait, where was I? Okay, all right. Apparently got cast in some awesome production that takes place in the afterlife. We didn't exactly read the fine print on that contract. And here we are. Second note to self, fire my agent. As we have Jim was a presence on social media, and there's a note for me, for Brian, please get into my computer and delete my browser history. We're still working on that. So, some of you guys were here during lunch. I introduced my friend Brent Arnold that thanked everybody for coming and participating here at the shrine. He sent out his final note or email to all the nobles, and it led with a quote that just really struck with me because it came out after the news of Jim's passing. And I think that it just really captures the essence of Jim. It says, the true meaning of life is to plant trees under whose shade you did not expect to sit. And that's by Nelson Henderson. So, all right, story time. Jim was an asshole, and I'm going to tell you why. The dark point in my life, and I just kind of was like, all right, I'm just going to go do whatever. Look at meetup.com, Hypnosis. Hey, Barbara's having an event at her house in a couple hours. So I roll down there. Jim here, we go through the deal, and he says, hey, you do screen printing and make t-shirts. We're doing street hypnosis. Right by University, in the University District by University of Washington, where all the college bars are. He says, we can make a couple of shirts, Jim Kellner, Master Hypnotize, Hypnotize You on the back, big question mark. Come out with us this weekend. All right, cool. Make one for yourself, because I'm going to teach you how to do it. Again, hold my beer. All right, let's roll with this, man. So part of the whole thing is we practice on each other to kind of moth to a flame, draw a crowd. And Jim does this induction where it's a standing induction, and then he decides to lay me down a couple feet from the curb. Danny, you were there. Saturday morning, where somebody may or may not have urinated or thrown up or something as recently as a couple hours ago, and he goes, super glue on your back, you can't get up, you're stuck to the ground. And I'm giggling, going, this is the dumbest thing that... All right, Brian, here's what your life has become. You're laying in a gutter and laughing about it. And I hear people, because I'm in trance, and I hear people going, is he okay? Do we need to call an ambulance? Like, is he having a seizure? Because I'm just giggling. I kind of brought it up to him later, and he goes, hey, man, I moved your head just slightly so that it wasn't like that big used gum that has been spit out right there. So, well, I say Jim was an asshole. He was an asshole, but he was also my friend. It was pretty important when we booked this room last year. It was shortly after my father had passed. In the video you guys saw, I was wearing the black cufflinkers with the Batman stuff. That was our first show that Jim invited me to do a grad night with him after my father passed, so that was pretty significant for me. In this room, Jim joined the Freemasonry fraternity. It was in this room that I conferred his first degree and initiated him for my first time ever, and it was an honor, and I think we kind of did everything right about where you guys are sitting. February 2nd, we'll be back in here, the very same room, giving him a formal send-off. And he loved this place. He loved everybody. And that was the whole thing, is he said, in your living room, he says, hey man, you're a veteran. I know you're struggling. And I want to help. There wasn't anything about, here's what I do, here's my business card, here's how much I charge. He just said, don't worry about cost, I just want to help. And this individuals that he introduced me to, getting me up on stage, he opened up a world, and through Jim and through a number of other people, I'm able to have this conversation with you guys today. Yang, I'm going to tell you that when you called me, I was standing in a towel in my bathroom. I had just stepped out of the shower. Phone rings, don't recognize the number, something says pick up. Thanks, Jim. Hey, Brian, this is Yang, Jim's stepdaughter, and now I do personal injury work where we deal with car accidents. I'm taking these phone calls. I'm expecting, it's Christmas, it's the holidays, there's traffic, Yang's been in a fender bender, something happens, and she doesn't know what to do, and Jim says, call Brian. And then she follows up with, hey, what can I do for you, my dear? Jim passed away this morning. Something in my head said, Yang, that's not what you're supposed to say. You're supposed to tell me you got in a car accident, and we're going to tell you to go to the hospital, go get checked out, and everything's going to be fine. And then I had to go destroy a bunch of people's holidays. I called Grant Saunders because they've got a big event in Vegas. Called Captain Sean up in Canada, and everybody was just, oh my God. And once word got out and we made the formal announcement online, Maya, I'm not looking at you on purpose. Because you're going to cry, and then I'm going to start crying, and we can't blame the Indians just chopping onions on that much stuff. But there was, the biggest thing was, the most common comment that I got, or response was, what can we do to help? Where can we send money? Where can we donate? Is there anything that the family needs? And so we were able to establish a GoFundMe, and we've had this conversation. I'm saying this on video, so it's recorded, so if you have to listen to it over and over to reassure yourself, you don't owe anybody anything. We are simply repaying a drop in the bucket for what Jim has paid already and given to us through his service. And without knowing everything, Jim joined the Masonic fraternity, and I think you guys will all agree with me that he absolutely lived the 3 tenets of Masonry, which is brotherly love, friendship, and truth. So while we're all getting super emotional and choked up and everything, oh shit, you were there too. The night that it all began, Sean. Oh God, I love you. So glad you made it. A good friend of mine told me that we don't grieve for the departed because they're in the Lord's hands. They're in a better place, feeling no pain, incredible amount of joy. But grief is also the sincerest form of expression and confirmation that love existed. And so we grieve for the loved ones and the friends that have left behind. But if we were to pull any silver lining from all of this, I would invite everybody in this room, everybody who watches this video, there's some comfort in finality, and he's gone. We all got hit. We took that sucker punch to the gut. It hurt, it sucked, but we have an opportunity for healing. For healing to begin. And I was talking to Michael DeShalit down in Vegas. We're going to do a kind of a ceremony down there for the hypnotist, and it's called the broken pocket watch. And the emblem of the pocket watch signifies the broken chain is the passing of one of our professional colleagues. And the watch is emblematic and symbolic of the time. It is immemorial, so that their memory and their legacies will live on forever. And that's something that I take a great amount of comfort in. So, yeah, I haven't figured out what I'm going to say at the service, but yeah, I just want to make a bit of a mention, tell some fond memories, and I'm glad that Jim was an asshole and that he was my friend.
Thank you so much, Brian. So this event today, and I, are both here because of Jim Kellner. Jim sometimes had that little sparkle in his eye where you just knew those wheels were turning. And he was the catalyst, as Danny had mentioned earlier, for our hypnotic lunches after our second Saturday monthly meetings. And it was at one of those lunches, which typically was always Mexican food, because that was Jim's favorite. And about an hour or so, we were on the opposite ends of the table from each other. And he just had that look in his eye that day. And he started to come over after people started to filter out a little bit. He and I typically were there till the end together. And he came and sat next to me. I said, okay, let's have it. Because I knew what was coming, which was he wanted me to be on the board. And Jim had a vision to bring back World Hypnotism Day. It was something that the NGHWA board had done several years back, but it had been a while. You know, the pandemic and all the things. And we were getting back to being in person, and Jim wanted to do big things on the board, as you heard earlier. He wanted to make some changes. He wanted to shake things up. And he wanted to bring this event back, and he wanted me to do it. And so I was sitting there with him, and he said, I'd really like for you to be the events coordinator, and I'd like to bring this event back, and I'd like you to help me do it, and to help the board. And so I said, okay, knew that was coming. What do we need to do? And then it was like, oh, and by the way, we need a new website, and we need this, and we need that. And I said, okay, I can do this. And so last year, we had this event. And after World Hypnotism Day last year in 2024, Jim, as you heard earlier as well, said, okay, my work here is done. I have a lot on my plate. So now, Jody, you want to be president too? And so that's really how this event came to be. That's how I came to be here. And I'm so grateful that he had that vision for all of us, and that he really had that vision for me, that he saw that in me to step up, to be able to take that spot and to feel those giant shoes that he left me, because he absolutely was just larger than life and just such a visionary and such a connector. You kept hearing that. He was connecting everyone, and that's really what it was about. He connected me with the board. He connected all of us together through this event, and so it was going to be my mission, absolutely, like Danny said, and Barb said, and everybody was talking about, to further these events, to further his vision, to really continue that ripple effect that none of us will ever know how large that is. You know, we touch people's lives and we connect people, but we never know how much of an impact that makes. And when something like this happens, when we have this kind of a devastating loss, it's so amazing to be able to come together and share about the ripple in our lives and how it will never stop and continue on. So I would like to actually invite the board members up, and I would like to invite Jim's family to come up, because we have a very special Lifetime Achievement Award for Jim that we would love to present to you.
Achievement for the advancement of stage hypnosis, hypnotherapy, professional connection, and service on the NGHWA board, given to Jim Kellner. Your accomplishments are recognized by the National Guild of Hypnotists, Washington Chapter, board and members. Great. So let's gather together so we can get a good picture of this.
That hosted Jim's tribute tonight. So 7 years ago, we came to America, like just by ourselves, and Jim met us, and he wanted to become a husband and a dad to us. He became a safe zone to us, even though we always order pizza with extra pineapple. And my mom's already carrying a fish sauce in the car, and he said it smelled like cat litter. And he accepted us, and he always said that we help him become a better person, but in fact he have helped us in our life to become but even better than now. And even though he's gone, but he has left us a really big family with you right here, and thank you so much for